Greetings, everyone. Emperor VonDoom here. I'm headed off to the gym shortly, but I wanted to respond to some questions that were put to me in response to the short that Emperor AP released last week. And it was a short I had made comments on Micronations being compared to Avengers. And during the video, I called it my nerd moment. I think everyone enjoyed the movies. And I looked at them in a little deeper sense. They all illustrate the hero's journey and how one can apply them to one's life when facing adversity. And what's even more special is that most of us don't have superpowers. So when we do triumph over adversity, we can feel even more rewarded that we were able to do so without being armed with the fantastical. But anyway, but when I look at Micronations and what they can do, what they can be, their potential to becoming great nations, and how the macronations started out as micronations, then yeah, I could see the character development with Micronations. And some people that saw the clip wanted me to expand on my idea of the fledgling nations being like the Avengers. And I use it in the context of uniting every nation. And again, these are nations that seek to, they strive for statehood recognition because they have a goal, a worldly goal to achieve. And each of them brings something unique to the table. So, like in the MCU, you have Nick Fury, which is the leader or the main, how can I put this? I believe he's a director in an organization called S.H.I.E.L.D. And he has certain abilities, he has certain liberties to perform missions the way he sees fit. And in his life experience and his wisdom, he was able to see that there were threats that ordinary governments, ordinary militaries could not deal with. And so he wanted to put together a team of rather unique and odd individuals. And with all of his information gathering resources, he was able to find a number of people with special skill sets that if he could bring them together, they could fight the fights that S.H.I.E.L.D. and other military establishments could not. And that is the way that we as fledgling states or micronations should look at the world. I know the Draconian Empire and the Empire of Eternia have goals that we hope to establish that would be able to have positive effects on a global scale. And if we have those desires, there obviously are other nations out there that have the same desires. The macronations have grown tired, some of them. Some of them are old and going through their death throes. While we, on the other hand, are new, rich, with great ideas and resources that the bigger and older and sometimes lazier nations do not have. Yes, they have, compared to us, what would appear to be unlimited resources. There are certain nations that I don't want to name. They just make up dollars and cents and throw them here and throw them there, except for throwing them at their own people. There are nations out there that are ready to just attack other nations that exploit other countries. And they do it in a way that now they can't survive without those other nations. So they have their way, while we have our way, our new way of doing things. Some of it's new, and a lot of it's old, but not broken. So in relation to the Avengers, you have your Iron Man, you have your Thor, you have your Hulk, you have your Black Widow, you have your Hawkeye, you have your Ant-Man, you have your Black Panther, you have your Doctor Strange. You have your Vision, you have your Falcon, and there were other heroes in and out, but just dealing with those, all of them very different, but all of them brought together. Some actually snatched in via circumstance, like Vision just happened to, end up part of the team. But which one are you? I'm talking to the micronations out there that seek to become a macronation. They seek to become a major player in world events. What Avenger would you think your nation is? Okay. And I say that not to say, like those online tests, which Avenger are you? It's a way of saying, what unique skills do I have that I can come together with other nations, other micronations, so that we can solve first our collective problems and then the world at large. You see, in this hero's journey, these various mythos, this story, the Marvel mythos, you have the heroes developed from a lowly character or from a flawed character to the hero. And the hero, the word hero comes from Heru, the Kemetic conquering son of Asar and Aset. Most of you know it from the Greek Osiris, Isis, and Horus, but the hero. And they start out, Tony Stark, he has all these resources, but he's not doing anything effective with it. Drinking, womanizing, not taking anything seriously. Thor, arrogant, loud, troublesome, I can say a number of things about the MCU Thor that, and then parallel it with the actual historical divinity, um, that legend. But we get the idea. He was he had some questionable behaviors, and though things didn't play out like they did in MCU for Thor and actual legend. But then you have Black Widow, who talked about having ledgers read, with bad things. You have Ant-Man, Scott Lang, I believe the name was, who he was locked up and trying to, have a new second life, and still ended up in trouble, but was lured into trouble by someone that wanted to utilize his skills. You have the Hulk, and well, the Hulk in and of itself, he is a terror, a problem. So you have T'Challa, Black Panther, and in the MCU, his problem was that his father was killed, and he wants to find the killer. And the other problem is that the cultural isolation leads to a certain psychology that, the character had to emerge from. Who else? Oh, yes. Falcon. The MCU Falcon really didn't have a shaded background. Nor did Steve Rogers. I forgot to mention Steve Rogers. Captain America. The so-called first Avenger, but technically, because of the nature of things, when, from what I saw on this big screen, Captain America was created in the 40s, and some say he's the first Avenger. Well, if he was created in the 40s and then went on ice shortly thereafter and then pops up later when the team is formed, but he's called the first Avenger, well, technically the first Avenger would be the Black Panther, because it is an inherited role, and that the Black Panther has been the protector of his people, and protecting the Wakandan interests for centuries. Steve Rogers could be said the same, saw the same way, protecting the interests of the West. So I argue that maybe the Black Panther was the first Avenger, but I digress. And, well, you know what? Thor, being a god, maybe was the first Avenger because he was born probably a lot longer before, there have been Asgardians a lot longer than there might have been Wakandans. But you know what? I'm nerding out here. Yeah, we don't know how they do their timeline. But anyway, we need to look at ourselves and our skills. What does Draconia have to offer? What does Eternia have to offer? Okay, what does Calypso and others have to bring to the table? And how can we help each other develop so that we can then reach out and change the world? We've used the terms empire, the Draconian Empire, the Eternian Empire, okay? There's various kingdoms out there. And some of my friends have asked, isn't there a conflict? Isn't there a little bit of, I'm an empire, you're an empire, we can't work together because we want to rule everything? No, that's not what this is about. I can't speak for Emperor AP in regard to why he chose the title Empire. or chose the structure of an empire, not title, structure. But Draconia was created to be an empire so that it could house other kingdoms and absorb other kingdoms in order to have, how can I put this, a diverse form of rule. When you have kings with you, you have, and they have their own culture and everything else, but they adhere to the main rule of the emperor. You have a great deal of power just in that, where you have different views of reality, different techniques of ruling. And if you're a wise ruler, you'll watch other rulers around you and see what they do and what they don't do, how they handle situations that you have yet to encounter, or maybe that you have encountered, and maybe you thought you could have dealt with that a little bit differently. But back to the Avengers thing. So I was saying in that live with AP that Iron Man represented, say, the West. T'Challa represented an African nation, Wakanda, because he was actually a ruler or prince. Thor, Kingdom of Asgard. Okay. Doctor Strange. Okay. The ruler of the mind and the mystic. All right. No particular nation. All right. But the Hulk, nation of one. That's what I said. He's a force that wherever he sits, that's his home. There's nothing to stop him. So representing oneself, the ultimate sovereign. What else? And then you have, yeah, I think that's all I had mentioned, I think. And you could say Black Widow, Russia, and let's see. I think that would be that's about it. And they came together reluctantly. In the first movie, it shows they were not deceived, they were motivated by Nicholas Fury to come together. And it was obvious that there were threats out there that they could not handle, but they were all playing this individually. And they might get a little bit of headway, but they weren't going to win it. And what was around the corner, there was no winning it individually. That invasion that came through would have been too much for any of them, and the Hulk would have been off somewhere else minding his own business, or Banner would have been too late. The Hulk would have hulked out while the Earth was being occupied by Thanos's Shatari force or whatever. So, fortunately, Earth's Odin, Nicholas Fury, assembled these beings to fight this fight, and they won. So, again, any nations listening, or anyone listening that is curious or willing or wanting to join a nation, a micronation, hear me out. We can achieve more together than separate. I know that Draconia can be kind of odd to look at as far as what our purpose is and what we, our flag and everything else. But we want to help the world. Can't save the whole world, okay, but you save parts of it and the goodness will spread. Eternia, led by Emperor AP, has great potential. So ask yourselves, what could you do? What could you bring to the table? What skill sets do you have? How could we unite to solve a lot of the global issues that plague us today? Even though they're not at your doorstep, they will be. A lot of ugly things are transpiring. I have to be careful what I say, but let's just put it this way. You have countries that are now arresting people, religious leaders, for speaking out against injustice. They are going to censor more harshly things that people say and things that people do. And they will use various causes that seem noble to push their agenda. For those of you out there who understand what I'm saying, we've seen a number of Trojan horses marched in. They're still marching them in, and people are welcoming them with open arms. We as Micronations should be able to see these Trojan horses for what they are and be ready to stand together, because together we are mighty. Separate, and some of you might be mighty on your own for a little while. I don't know what resources most of you have. It might be one nation, Micronation out there, that has everything that could hold their own for a little while. But we don't even want to go there. We want to be able to help our communities, not just our communities, ourselves, our families. And that's where everything starts, at least with Draconio, family, and then we branch out. So that's all I wanted to say in regard to that short that was released by Emperor AP. Some people wanted to know or wanted me to expand on the Marvel thing. I didn't want to. I just thought it was something that I would share at that time. And one more thing on the Marvel thing. Remember, I said it's an illustration of the hero's journey, and throw away all the special effects, all the bright colors, cool music, and again, look at the hero's journey. Some of us are leaders because we think it's cool to lead. Then there's the rest of us who think that this sucks, but it has to be done. I myself would rather be building things in my lab, discovering stuff, inventing things, and enjoying my family and my friends. But I saw early on that could not last long. And I can't stand by and see crimes against humanity being done constantly. Stand by and watch while people are murdered, while people are, or was I not supposed to say the M word? I apologize, algorithm, AI, whatever. Stand by and see people unalived. I never thought I'd be in a world where English was on the precipice of being outlawed by saying unalive, and all sorts of other things. And science is totally in question. The world is turned upside down. So if you all feel as I feel and see the things I see, think about what I'm saying here for yourselves. Are you on the hero's journey? I know I am. And you sometimes will hit a brick wall where you can't go any further. and you have to figure out a way through it, over it, under it, or something. But it's not an easy journey. And I will, at some point, share with you one of the things that got me through. And that is, I'm wearing one of my gym shirts. There's a book called Wisdom from the Bat Cave. And look it up. Maybe I'll read some excerpts from it later on. But building a nation is a job. It is not fun times. And if there's anybody out there that find themselves wanting to help change the world, or is curious about building a nation, as Emperor AP has made clear many times, before you jump into building your own nation, join a nation. Join a nation that resonates with your ideology, with your reason for wanting to build a nation, so that at least you would know what's going on and how it was done. Yeah, so that's about it for now. Yeah, ask yourself, are you on a hero's journey? And you don't want to end up in the cave prematurely or without knowing that you're in the cave, like Tony Stark. You see, I'm going to end off on this. Tony Stark, we know what he was. Then he went showing off, selling weapons, without a care in the world as to whose lives are affected. He ended up in a cave with shrapnel going to his heart. So the heart was attacked, and he had very little time. So when he emerged from that cave, he emerged as Iron Man. So Tony Stark was dead. The heart transformed, and the glow in the chest. All of this is, yeah, you could look at it, I'm seeing the metaphor, the glowing chest, the divine heart, okay? The selfish heart was killed. The divine glowing heart emerged. Iron Man emerged. Ubermensch, the Superman, emerged from the cave. And Tony Stark was dead in that cave, gone. And a new hero comes to the world, birthed from the cave. So he's in the cave, one could say, died, rose in 3 days, 7 days, whatever. So it parallels from, the Jesus thing or whatever. But look at it like that. You don't want to be in that cave unprepared, because some of you might just give up. So think about it. Just gnaw on it for a little while. And that's it for this video. Take care. Peace.